What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode right here on the Hockey Edmonton Show. This is episode 16. I'm YouTube Trev. To my right is the beauty, the man, the myth, the legend, Jeremy Haluschak. Jeremy, how are you doing today, man?
I am doing well. I mean, come on. Oilers won
Let's
a
go.
couple nights ago. Exactly. We've got another game tonight or this afternoon and tomorrow. So we're leading off a good day of hockey talk and good weekend of hockey talk, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, exactly. How can you complain about that? And
Absolutely.
Weather is turning. We had our deep freeze and such over with, and look outside. It is.
Stay warm out there, folks.
It is looking like it's actually starting to turn the tail again. And
Yep.
I think, next
It
week
is.
for the kids that aren't in school, they should be enjoying that weather because it looks like it'll be nice to get out there on the ODR, on the toboggan hill, because we talked about
Yes.
ski hills. Because next week we'll have a good guest talking about multi-sport athletes and such.
Yep.
But you know what? Get out there and enjoy the weather however you want. Again, we're going up to Christmas here. I mean, for me,
Let's go. Merry Christmas.
exactly. Merry Christmas. I mean, last year at this time, I think me and my buddy Kevin, we were in Helsinki, I think, at this time.
No way.
Yeah, we were in Helsinki as part of our Spengler Cup trip. So
You're in this. You went to the Spangler Cup.
last year, that's how it's funny. So when we were talking about this program with Dusty early on and Matt,
Yeah.
and again, like I said, we didn't hop on this after a year of success. We wanted to be part of this organization early on when Dustin launched this station. We wanted to get our presence out here. And so we had a meeting with Dustin and Matt to talk about the program and some options here and such. And it was funny because we were at the Spengler Cup in Davos. It's almost like 3 levels in that town. So there's like the ground level where the train comes in and such, and then you go up the first real major block. So there's a major like stuff on that block.
Yeah.
And this is actually for people that don't know too. You actually don't see how big Davos really is. Like, it is actually a big town.
Yeah.
So we were actually on the one side where the arena and that is, but there is an absolute massive stuff on the other side, like the Intercontinental Hotel. Sometimes you see that weird, it's like a oval type of building. I think that's the Intercontinental Hotel where like the rich of the rich stay when they
Yes.
do those finance summits up there. But anyway, so you have one level here, and then the main drag really on that side is kind of a middle level, and that's where like all the bars, the restaurants, stores
where
are
I'd
at
be.
that. Yeah, exactly. So, and then there's a third level there. So we were at a hotel that's kind of between level 2 and 3. And so we're walking, and then when you walk down that main drag, you actually have to go down to the arena. So you go down a little hill. And so there's a path there that takes you down there. And so I'm watching this one guy walking up the side of the hill
Yeah.
in like probably snow that's like that deep. And sure enough, it was Dustin. I'm like, and so when we came back, I was like, Dustin, like, we had another meeting. I'm like, yeah, I saw you at the Spengler Cup. I'm just curious on why you chose to walk up the hill that way. And I can't remember
way.
exactly what he said,
Oh,
but yeah,
that's
it was
beautiful.
hilarious. I'm like, but yeah, it's a good experience if you have the chance to go there. Like, I mean, we did. For me, we actually tried to do almost every part of the arena. So we did the sardine can, the stands there
Cool.
at the end. We did that for 4 of the games. We sat on the sides. We sat in the corner. For the last game, we sat at the very top of the end. So yeah, we hit that arena up every piece. So
Yeah, man, really cool. That's awesome. I love that story. I'm gonna have to bring that up to Dusty one of these days. He
Yeah.
probably has a bag of chicken tenders, chicken nuggets, and just fries with him. He was probably
Yeah.
getting some supper, so what that was. But yeah, good old Dusty. That's a good story. I
Yeah.
love that. That's one thing. We'll get to our topic pretty soon here. I'd love. That's one thing I haven't done yet, but just going to Europe. I've seen some of the games through video, virtual, and just the crowd. Like, people think like hockey in North America, it's one thing. Oh, it's awesome, it's unbelievable, especially in the playoffs, as most sports in North America are. The fans really show up, but in Europe, it's a whole nother game. Like, it's honestly, in some aspects, it's beautiful, man. Like, the passion that these fans have for the game and the love of hockey, you're just like, wow, like, you get goosebumps. So that's something in Davos. I know Helsinki as well, just being over in Europe. Man, I'm jealous, Jeremy. You got me jealous right now.
Yeah, we did the Jokerit game, so we flew out that night or that day and got in the evening or late afternoon did the Jokerit game, and again, same thing. Like we're in a 3,000 seat arena,
Yeah.
and yeah, absolutely. Just the fans are going, and we decide we're gonna, because Jokerit was the road team, because these are like the team they were playing was in Vata, I think it is. So again, suburb type of things, and yeah, like all their fans are on the one side, and then we're like, all right, yeah, we're going to the Jokerit side. Thanks. So
Yeah, because it's separate. It's separate, right?
Yeah, they'll go into their own little section
like
there
that.
and that. So
that's how it should be. That would be so cool if North America would be able to adapt that into our game.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like you said, European hockey, it is something there. It is just, yeah, exactly. The drums, the megaphones,
Thousands.
yeah. And again, you see that in all the events, like the World Championships too, same thing, did that. And again, they had the drums were out there. Yeah, it was something. So
it's pretty cool, man. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we're off and rolling here this fine Saturday morning, guys. As always, leave a like, drop a comment down below. This is the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Haluschak, and if you're listening to us, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, thanks for listening. We got a really good episode coming your way this morning. We're talking about the Timbits program and half ice hockey. Sorry.
Yes.
Jeepers, that was it's early in the morning, Jeremy.
Yes, exactly.
Half ice hockey there. So essentially, Jeremy, like from my understanding, and I know you know a lot more about this than I do, but this is just about making the game more fun for children in hockey and just getting them involved and just wanting to keep them in the game, because as we'll see later in the video, we have this video queued up. Jeremy provided that. We're going to dive into that and kind of just give our thoughts on it, because watching it originally, it covered a lot of things, checked off a lot of boxes as to why maybe some kids get uninterested in hockey. So you might have a little bit more to say about that.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head. We talk about wanting to bring the game down to their level in terms of, the space and such. And why do we want to do this? We'll touch on this obviously a little bit later on. But yeah, exactly. We get kids more engaged. We know if they're more engaged, they're going to have fun. Also, we build those foundational skills better. Again, we build those foundational skills, then guess what? They're going to have success long-term in this game. Again, we talked about this. I remember bringing up the story many episodes ago, but we had show favorite Greg Terry on here. And again, he came into a team situation, having to replace a coach. And, you traditionally have your parent meeting. And again, this would have been this kind of age group here. But the first thing the parents talked about was breakouts. And Greg said, 2/3 of the kids can't make a pass. How can we do a breakout? That's why we focus on small area games and working those fundamental skills, right? Like, again, you can't pass, you can't skate, you can't shoot, and you can't puck handle. You can't do a breakout. You can't do defensive zone coverage. You can't do offensive tactics. Like, there is a reason why, when we talk about our system and the programs that we do and how our coaches are trained in our systems, it is to create that long-term success for the athlete. Again, as you'll hear it again, and you've heard me say it before on these programs, development is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And sometimes we lose sight of that. And again, this shrinking the rink, again, it allows this to happen. Again, like I said, we'll talk about some of the stats and the things that we know about the game a little bit later on. But again, like we said, kids touch the puck more. They're more engaged. They're having more fun. We were talking about with Will just outside there a little bit before. We thought that the video of the kid that was mic'd up was cute and that. Remember last year there was that viral video of that kid that they mic'd up and such, and he was making, giving his commentary in that. As cute as that was, though, the one question is how engaged was he in the actual game itself, right? Yeah. So again, that's what we want to try to make sure is kids are engaged, kids are playing the game. And again, the reason why we're doing this episode is because we have our Timbits event here. I say go out there today at Terwilliger. We're there all day till 5 or 5:30, 6 o'clock. Last game's like at 5:45. It ends, I think. Go down there, watch it for a few minutes, and just watch the purity of that game and the kids just having fun and really mucking around and playing the game and touching look how many times they're touching the puck. They're skating around and engaged in the play. Again, that's why we believe this system here is the system. Again, for the best development of our players. And again, you'll hear me say it again throughout this show. Every other sport does something similar in terms of age-appropriate playing surfaces. Pretty much every ice hockey federation does this as well. And so for those, sometimes we talk about, well, Hockey Canada is falling behind. Well, these models were taken from Hockey Canada and implemented all across the world. And, it's funny because we were talking with one of my former coworkers, or he's one of my former coworkers, but when I was still at Hockey Alberta, we did a summit here in conjunction with the Haluschak back the first time it came back, and that was about 2019. That's kind of when we started really focusing on the half ice model again. And one of the comments he heard from the other federations was, you guys are not doing half ice and your players are this good. They're worried about what happens when this generation that's starting half ice again comes through, because they're going to be just that much better because they're all doing it.
It's a really good point.
And Canada is still the benchmark.
Yeah.
When you look at championships, are we winning as many as there was before? No, but that's because competition is rise. But we are still winning more championships than not. We are still getting more players to those next levels than not. So again, like I said, this is, it's just, again,
for sure,
a model that is utilized throughout. And I think that, again, we want to just really highlight that model.
Yeah, no, you brought up a lot of really good points there. And I'm talking with good old Will, it's interesting because I remember that video very well, and your initial reactions, how cute is this? Oh, look at this kid, he's having fun. But the more and more you dig into it, the more and more you realize that he might not be having the most fun out there. And he's like, like I forget what he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, the puck's so far away.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And we talk about long-term athlete development, which we will be speaking with Danielle next week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we got Danielle next week. So that'll be an awesome episode. Stay tuned for that. But long-term athlete development starts on day one, and wanting to keep these kids involved in the game and getting them as engaged and just making sure that it's impressions, right? You want to have a really good first impression. And if your first impression is what am I doing? You're just tired. You don't get the puck. You're not engaged. It's not going to go very long with this kid or with kids in general, right? So you brought up a lot of really good points there. And I believe you had mentioned the Timbits there. We got some programs if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, we'll touch on that toward the end after we talk about all this and such. But I think we can jump right into exactly. You hear us talk about long-term athlete development. So let's start with what that actually means. So again, this is a framework that has been created. And the goal is again, that we want to get kids and adults will get active, stay active, and reach their sport achievement if they do the right things at the right time. So again, sometimes we hear talk, especially, with the younger, sometimes the younger age groups, the talk, seeps in about breakouts and power play and that. Well, we're talking 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, right? No, they need to know the fundamentals, skating, in hockey's case, skating, passing, shooting, puck handling, right? So again, that's that idea of, right things at the right time. It's backed by, obviously, science, research. There's a lot of research that goes into it. Jeff Krishel talks about that all the time. So again, if you're listening to, 1260 days to now, you hear Jeff Krishel continuously talking about this. And again, I've not met the person, listened to him a lot.
He's a beauty.
Again, this is not me, just pouring the water. Was it carrying the water is what sometimes the media get accused of here, but with
He's
the Oilers
legit.
and such, but that's exactly it. This is a person that isn't on that science side. So this is what long-term athlete develops backed by, but also it's backed by experience. Again, we talk about multi-sport athlete, long-term athlete development. Again, we see the results there and making sure that we are building fundamentals for our kids to stay active. And again, for us, we want to our kids to become active adults. Because again, you've heard me say this multiple times. Sport for life creates better, healthy societies, and that's just overall good for us. And so again, that's the idea. It's broken down by age categories, and it is focused on the athlete's needs at those specific ages. And so, when we go into that, like we start at the Active Start program. So again, how each sport and each sport does this. It's how they do it different. They'll do it a little bit differently. But for us and these today's programs, we'll talk about the first two stages, active start and fundamentals. So again, active start, what we want to do really is getting kids engaged in daily activity through play and movement. That's why our programs are unstructured at those very young age groups, is because we just want to get them out there, skating around, shooting a puck, getting comfortable. It's at that age where the kids are starting to connect, or their brain is starting to connect to the muscle movements. They're realizing, okay, this is things that I can do. This is how things somewhat start to work, right? That motor coordination and such. And again, for us, or for active start, you're looking at developing those fundamental movement skills such as running, jumping, throwing. And there's a whole bunch of others that we want to put in there, but those are really the big three. And again, how we're adapting that into our programs, especially since, again, we're an unnatural sport. You're not born with skates on your feet. You're not born with knowing how to skate. We're an unnatural sport. So again, we implement some of those into the program and such. And again, at the end of the day, active start is to help participants feel competent and comfortable participating. So again, we go back to that competent and comfortable. If they're not touching the puck, how can they get competent? And if they're not engaged in the play, how can they be comfortable? Right?
Hang on.
So that's the first step. And then we move into, so again, for hockey, for the sports, that's usually that 0 to 6 year old range. And then we go into that fundamentals stage where we're looking at, again, that 7, 8, 9 year old ish range here. And again, what the goal of that program or part of the program is, developed the fundamental movement skills in structured and unstructured play. So, and again, when we talk about play, that's not necessarily gameplay. That's just structured environment and such. So again, through practices, through gameplay as well. Provide a fun and inclusive multi-sport athlete that's developmentally appropriate. So again, it's funny, I talking and hearing people, they can't make a stretch pass. At 9, 8 years old, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
NHLers are barely having this, are barely pulling off stretch passes sometimes. We joke around, come in here when I before we do our recordings, and sometimes I joke around about the text line. I'm sure that you can, the fans ripping Evan Bouchard for not being able to make a pass from his goal line to the far blue line. Yeah. But yet we're expecting 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like they barely probably have the skill or the strength to get the puck halfway there, let alone the accuracy and the visual comprehension to hit that.
Yeah, and like even the hockey IQ, and as you mentioned, that comes backed by experience, right? That comes with the age, and that comes with just the evolution of developing as a hockey player. And just speaking on experience, like the breakouts, and I'm happy you mentioned that, because for me, you mentioned that there's the age categories, but even for the age categories, there are the players that are taller. There are the players, so it's even more difficult for the smaller players in that said age category. And that's where I fell there, Jeremy. Like the coaches, like I was the smallest kid on my team every single year for every year that I played hockey. And so even, as we got a little bit older and I was, 15, 16, you're expected to make a little bit more the stretch passes, but like I had a difficult time. I'm going to be completely honest. I hadn't started puberty there yet. And all my buddies, they were, like, hey, how's it going, Trev? Like you can't make a pass there. And so it made it difficult for me. Right. So it's not just, it's not just the kids, it's the kids in that age group that maybe, a little bit slower of just developing, and that's just part of their bodies. Right. So, it's interesting. And that kind of, that ties into the fundamentals there, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then again, at the end of the day, fundamentals, we want to this is where we start to introduce them into some of that development side of it. And we'll talk about team and individual tactics and such a little bit later on and kind of that breakdown there. But that's really, you know, where our U7 and U9 programs fall in is this side. And just for people, just for a little bit of information's sake, once you get past that, you know, we get our learn to train phases where you start to develop an understanding of the basic rules, tactics, strategies, and sport-specific skills. You know, train to train. Again, these are when you're thinking about those, you know, U15 level, AAA, AA levels, and that's to develop proficiency and where commitment starts to emerge. You know, this is where, for example, our next week's guest, she talks about, this is about the age group where she started to specialize into her sport and such, and then compete to train and win. And this is where you get that national and international competition side of it. So again, when you're talking about, you know, topical here, we're getting into the World Juniors. This is that concept there, that train to compete and train to win, right?
Yep.
That's that age group really there and such. And, you know, if you're going to talk to us about how being a multi-sport athlete next week opens a lot of doors. Again, when you want to pivot and you're a well-rounded athlete, but you see something that, you know what, maybe I could excel at that might not quite be hockey. I'm a very good hockey player, but I can excel at something else. You know, this is where you start to, or this is where your competitive age range comes in, and that's that 18 to 20, or sorry, that 22 to 26 age when you're in that peak type of physical you know, development and such. And then again, that leads to being just active for life at the end of the day. So that's kind of the idea of the long-term athlete development program in a framework there as a concept side.
Yeah, I'm 26. So I might be out of my peak right now. I'm slowly out of my peak.
You'll hear
there,
the next
Jeremy.
week's guest. She was kind of, you know, toward the
maybe a late bloomer, maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, she made her debut, or she made the Olympics at kind of where she was debating, you know, like she said, taking it, you know, step at a time there, but don't want to really, you know,
tee too much up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
we're gonna tease you guys because that is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Haluschak, and if you guys are tuning in, this is the Hockey Edmonton Show, week 16. Week 16. I remember our first episode. I remember our 5th. I remember our 10th, and now we're on to week 16.
Yeah,
it's not bad. We're just chugging along, Jeremy. We're doing really good.
For sure, exactly. This is going well and such. So yeah, yeah, and exactly. So I think, you know, when we talk about going back to long-term athlete development and such, you know, what does that specifically mean for hockey? And, you know, I think one of the things, and I was guilty of this. This first point, I was really guilty of this first point. And that's understanding that children are not mini adults.
No,
they are not. And I heard that statement. And it's like, yeah, you know what? I was guilty of that when I was coaching. You know, again, I wasn't coaching the U9 level. I was coaching, you know, U11, U13, and then again, U15, U18 and such. But I was guilty of thinking that sometimes through is, okay, yeah, that idea of a breakout and such. And again, yeah,
come on.
Come on, folks, you guys get this. Like, come on, right?
And after we'll go to the bar. Come on.
Yeah, not necessarily that, but, you know, exactly. You know, I was, like I said, so, I mean, I was guilty of that in my time, and that was one of those, you know, as you look back in your the things you do, it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah.
It's the expectations, and, like, you need to realize, like, whoa, I need to take a step back here.
Yep, exactly. The expectations of what they can do and such. Like I've said, again, development is not a marathon, or is a marathon. It's not a sprint, folks. And again, this is, you know, why our system, we structured specific development to be age appropriate. And again, that's our Hockey Canada implementation of long-term athlete development. Hockey Alberta has enhanced that program a lot. And again, we work to deliver that program there. And so again, when we talk about what we want to build in hockey here, you know, we want to build great people first. You heard me talk about so far how hockey builds great people. That is the first thing we want to do. Talk about athletes second. We want long-term athletes in society, again, because active people are have benefits to society. And again, that's why we want to encourage that long-term, you know, athletic endeavors. We want to keep you in hockey for life. We want to keep you active for life. And then hockey players third. Again, our goal is people, athletes, hockey players. Again, like you heard me talk about in many episodes, and will hear me talk about in many episodes. Again, the people that are looking at high-end athletes, and because again, there are people that want to play junior hockey, NCAA, CIS, U Sport, I should say now, NHL Pro, all of that. That's great. Those are great to have those aspirations. People looking to bring those people into those organizations, they're looking for athletes first. Yeah. They're not looking for hockey players. They're looking for athletes. Are you a good athlete? Yeah. That is going to drive, the doors for you to be opened if you're a good athlete. So again, that's kind of that priority side. And, we talked about it just a little bit earlier on again. So keep on going back to our U9 and U7 programs are based on fundamental skills: skating, passing, shooting, and puck handling. If you cannot do those things, as you heard me say, how can you do the actual tactics, team tactics, individual tactics, the one-on-ones, the two-on-twos, three-on-twos, and such? How do you do the actual team tactics, the breakout, the forecheck, the power play penalty kill? If you can't do those fundamental skills, if you can't skate, can't pass, you can't move the puck, you can't shoot, you can't stick handle, how can you attack? How can you defend? How can you protect? Yep. Right? So again, that's why we look at fundamental skills at these age groups and just that repetitive. And, and we talk about repetitive, it's not doing the same thing the same way all the time, but it's incorporating stick handling and puck handling in different ways, shooting and passing in different ways, but you are getting used to doing those fundamental skills. And so, at the U7 side of it, 85% of our program is focused on shooting, skating, passing. And then, 15% is just that individual tactics. So, think about the one-on-one plays. How do you engage players one-on-one and such? So again, that's kind of the breakdown of the U7. And then at the U9, we kind of slim it down a little bit. 75% is technical. 15 is that individual, and then 10% we call it team play. So again, think of 2-on-1, 3-on-2 type of situations, right? So how do you engage and move the puck between teammates and such? So again, that's kind of, our pyramid. And if you go through our programs, the Hockey Canada, Hockey Alberta program, you will see that progression of the pyramid. So again, as you go up in age, the technical goes down, individual goes a little bit down, but then you start to see tactics and team play and such, grow. Because again, as we talk about here in this model, in our long-term athlete development model, build the foundation, make sure we're teaching age-appropriate and skill-appropriate things at the right time. So again, as you get older, that's when we really start to focus on, the bigger picture things in the game.
Yeah, and it's pretty neat just looking at the numbers here and the stats that you guys, obviously, you've been doing this for quite some time, but you're adjusting to it because you know, right? So to implement 85% technical, and as you get older, you won't need as much. So then it goes down, right? And that just comes with time. So it's pretty neat there. And then you also just touched on great athletes. Like I can't explain how many times you hear the coaches, the managers when you're drafting prospects, but when you're even just talking about players that you may have on a team, they're like, oh, they start, well, it's a great person, they're a great person. What they do off the ice is just as good, but he's a natural athlete. Like he is a great athlete. He's a great player, but he's a great athlete. And I think there's a lot that goes into it, as Jeremy just alluded to there. This is the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Haluschak, as I just said. And this is, we're just chiming along here. This is a great episode. And that kind of all ties into game structure there, Jeremy, eh?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So it's funny, though, going back to your athlete, I just thought about one thing in the back of my mind here that hopped out. Show guest last couple weeks ago when we had Dustin on, there's a prime example of a player a person that he could do anything sport-wise. Very good. Baseball, not a problem. Yeah. He played that, obviously. Hockey, obviously he reached the Western Hockey League, the Alberta Junior Hockey League. He went out to pro tryouts. So again, think of that pinnacle, small percentage that actually gets there, played in the U Sport. Again, but it's even funny when we go play basketball with him. He's going to be the best out there.
Yeah.
When we play racquetball, he always is wiping the floor with just about all of us. Go into even something as simple as axe throwing. finals. We had a team bonding thing at Hockey Alberta there one day, and yeah, just a natural. He is up there with the people that have been doing it all for however long that the axe throwing place was open and such. But just like I said, he goes out there. He knows he has to make a certain shot to walk it off. Tosses it, does it, just walks out there like there's nothing
easy
more.
for some people.
But again, it's that being that natural athlete.
Yep.
Again, that gets him that success that got him to the higher levels of sporting as a whole. But yeah, so we talk about the game structure, and obviously the most visible thing here is the smaller playing surfaces. So again, people who are in our programs know that we play on half ice or cross ice, depending on the age. So U7 is cross ice, U9 half ice. So again, what does that mean? Cross ice, you're exactly what it is. You're playing across that ice. So that section from blue line to the end boards, the nets are facing parallel to the boards and such.
Yeah,
and that's how you're playing. Again, half ice, same thing. You're playing from center ice down to the boards, right? So again, that's the most visible thing. We have smaller nets and lighter pucks. Again, we'll touch on this in the video in a few minutes here, and folks will, for those listening, we'll kind of try to narrate, or not narrate, but kind of give a synopsis of the video as we go on. 4-on-4 with our goalies and continuous plays. And again, we're encouraging them to rotate through positions. And, again, all of this leads to what we want to do. We want to have kids engaged. We want to have them touching the puck. This is how you do it. You get them on the ice. You give them more opportunities to touch the puck. They're going to do it. And again, rotating different positions. It's funny because you sit there and look at some people, they want to pigeonhole their kids in one position. Folks, encourage your kids to play different positions, not only to be just a better all-around player, give them that perspective, but there will be times where, you see it. Darnell Nurse on the forecheck. He's sometimes on the forecheck. And Cale McCarr, it doesn't matter who it is. A good skating defenseman sometimes is at the forecheck because they're that good of a skater. Yeah. So again, knowing what to do because you have experienced multiple positions. Okay, in this case, I'm the first person here, so that makes me F1 naturally. Yeah. So, okay, perfect. And then as a forward, oh, geez, I see that all of a sudden my D partner is there, and I'm the last forward back. That means I become a defenseman for that few seconds. So I need to know what to do, where to go, right? So again.
Yeah, you learn so much more. You have to. It is imperative if... as a player, if you're just slotted as a left wing, right wing, what happens when the defenseman does join the rush? You're just you're lost in no man's land, right? So it's good to coaches to definitely be flexible with their players and not just making them, nope, this is it. This is what you're going to do, and that is it. That is it. No, you learn so much more being able to be a left wing for a game, and that's exactly where you start. There's no better way to start at an early age.
Yep, exactly. And it's funny, even I remember when I was working at a year-round goalie school, and then when I was coaching, I told players, not necessarily we needed shooters because I got sick of shooting pucks all the time, when we were doing ice sessions and such for some of our organizations. But I told shooters, why would you not come out here and listen to what the goalies are being taught? Yeah. Get out there and know, so that way now you know what you have to do. Yep. Right? Exactly. To score on them, right? Okay, I know that if, they're doing a butterfly slide, here's what I need to do, right? I'm hearing the technique of it. Now, as a player, I can figure out how to implement that in my attacks and such. So, and then, so from there, that's the game structure. Totally. We talk about our practice structure. So we do a mix of stations. So again, the goals are we want to make this fun and enjoyable. We really want them to get that skill acquisition and really correct any errors, detect and correct any errors that you might see in some of that technique. So, if they're not passing it, how you're supposed to, or puck handling, rolling the wrists or shooting, from, the entire shot, the movement and such. Right. Again, we want to make sure that they're maximizing the activity. So again, stations do that. You're rotating through, you're getting more people engaged in the practice and such, and again, build that confidence. That comes with, again, acquiring that skill, maximizing your activities, and again, correcting any of those errors or bad habits, right? So again, that's one of the things we want to do. Small area games, You hear this at the highest levels, at the the U18, U16, or U15. They're still doing smaller games. They're doing them in the NHL more. Like that's what they do for the most part.
They condense it.
Exactly. You don't see the big full ice horseshoe that often. You see them in small areas, working on small areas. Because what did what's his face? They say on Hockey Night in Canada, Dallas Aikens talked about how the game was played. Most of the game is played within a few feet of the boards, right? So again, that's small area games. And what do we want to do? We want to make it fun and enjoyable. Kids love to play against each other, and you see the natural compete come out regardless of what the age is. Puck protection, we're talking about that puck protection, transition, support, and decision making. So again, that spatial awareness. So that's what we're trying to do in those areas. And then obviously our gameplay side of it. So fun and enjoyable. Again, this is where you apply the skills that you've learned. I hear sometimes from parents saying that during my coaching time, they need to learn this in the game. No, game is where you put it all together. It's like a test. You don't go into a test and learn something. That's the application of all the studying that you've done.
Yeah.
Like that's what game is. Game should be natural.
That's a good way to put it.
You should not be thinking about it. It should just be coming, and you should be just going with the flow, essentially, right? And again, this is, applying that stuff that we talk about in the small area games. We want them to play in traffic, battle, compete, and really start to utilize some of those individual skills to enhance your tactics. So again, we're not talking about power play, breakout, all that. We're talking about, utilizing your teammates on the ice, going, odd man, 3-on-2 situations, 2-on-1 situations, 1-on-1 situations, right? That's what we're talking about in this age group of tactics. So again, that's kind of how our system is built, and that's what our programs and our coaches are taught to implement at those coaching clinics that Stephen Patterson talked about a month ago.
Yeah,
Barry Midori talked about that. He's a coach mentor. Again, so we talk about these things over and over again in our Hockey Alberta system and the training that our Hockey Edmonton coaches get. So again, this is the system for how we've structured this system, and again, we want the results.
Yeah. No, and you touched on a lot there, Jeremy. Fun and enjoyment stands out. And we also talked on experience earlier. Like for me, my experience is the most fun thing growing as a player, as I was aging. I was fortunate enough to shout out the Tabor Small Arena, or the Tabor Rink. We had just a regular sized arena, but then we were also fortunate to have a small sized arena, and it was perfect. I remember when we had practices in that little ice, it made it so much more enjoyable. And then every now and then there was a lot of teams, we didn't have the time slot, so we had to go on the big ice. And I was just like, there's nothing fun about this. This sucks. I hate it. And and as for me, I think that certainly helped. I didn't go far, but it certainly helped in my development as a hockey player.
Well, and you're still participating in the game and wanting to participate in the game.
Exactly.
Right? So again, to summarize it for us, again, our model is focused on development rather competition. And what does that mean? Again, aged appropriate, focus on development rather than having some sort of winning mindset. Again, wins and losses. Sometimes you can be the best. You can play the best and lose because of a puck hitting the post. I'll utilize a couple of examples here. In my last year of coaching, we played a team that was, again, a few more wins higher than us, but again, our league was fairly condensed in terms of wins and losses. We were all competitive against each other. And the difference in that playoff game was almost the exact same place on the ice, except on the other opposite ends. We hit the post and it rolled out. They hit the post and it went in. Shots were almost equal. Again, scoring chances tracked, were almost equal. Power plays, they think they had one more than us. So again, fairly equal. So again, everything was fairly equal, but that was the one bounce there.
Yeah.
And there are times everybody that's been coached, that has coached, again, whether that's Barry, whether that was Steven, whether that was Sage and Nathan and Greg, go down the list. Go down and grab others in the studio that have coached. They'll say there are days where you deserve to win, you didn't. There are days that you deserve to lose, you didn't.
Yeah.
And hell, the Oilers learned that the hard way. Again, we're talking about at the pro level, they should be a Stanley Cup champion last year. The fancy stats say they should have been. Everything says that. Unfortunately, in game one, they got out-goalied.
Yeah. Oh.
And
Flashbacks.
so again, that's just the nature of sports sometimes.
That's how the dice rolls.
Exactly. So again, that's why, again, long-term focus here. So again, that's when we talk about development and the long marathon view that we have. Again, we focus on our seasonal structure, practice versus game ratio versus the number of games played. Sometimes I do hear that in my coaching experience. Well, we're not playing enough games. Folks, we need to practice. We need to develop skills before we actually play the games. I remember when I got some slots here, for those, when I used to coach, Hockey Edmonton would give you a certain amount, and we still do. We give a certain amount of ice, and then your association would give you a certain amount of ice, and then you had to go out and grab your own if you wanted extra, right?
Yeah.
And so we would get these, they were like 2 hour and 15-minute slots. And, first thing the parents said, are we going to play? I'm like, nope. We used them for practices in more cases than not, because it was nice that you could break it down. You didn't feel rushed, but you could break it down, and we broke it down into essentially, two to three 45-minute sessions, essentially, where we focus on, some, the skills and such, and then bring in some team tactics, and then go have fun for the rest of that time. And then again, we reset, do it again in terms of a practice, essentially treating it as another practice. And so, yeah, it was great. The kids, it was amazing after those practices, how the stuff that we worked on, we're able to implement it just like that. Yeah. In the game. We saw it. I'm like, that was what brought me the biggest smiles, is like, oh yeah, there you go. Watching them go up the ice. And again, the system is the system a little bit differently than it was now, but yeah, seeing them go up the ice, it's like, oh yes, we worked on that. Look at those plays and such. And again, for us, focusing again, practice and skill and acquisition. And when we do have competition, we're making it meaningful. And again, we're not just talking about meaningful in terms of, teams are fairly close competing each other. In this case, at our young ages, it's meaningful is we want to get them engaged. We want to get them participating. That's meaningful for us. Again, we don't necessarily look at the score in those age groups. And again, you look at some of the other federations that are having more success than others in putting players into the high level, if that's what your bar is. There was a study out here, and I should have included it in this episode, but there's a study out there that compares the Swedish Ice Hockey Federation to Minnesota Hockey, because they're both the same size. You look at what they're doing. The Swedish Ice Hockey Federation is putting more players in the NHL. They're putting more players in the higher levels, and more people are active in life.
Yeah.
You look at
pretty
their
neat
system.
looking at those studies.
It's like, okay, what do? They focus on, the small area, half ice, age appropriateness of games, or of participation up until 13. You don't go to teams until you're older. You don't start keeping score until you're in those older age groups too, right? So again, that fundamental, they're refocusing on fundamental skills at the young age for a longer time. So again, that's one of the success stories. So again, when we talk about meaningful competition, again, it's not necessarily, playing against, having a competitive environment. Yes, we do try to make sure it is. We want to try to, when we form our teams, we're trying to group like skilled players here. Our associations are. So you're not having the best against, those that are first time on the ice. But again, what we want is we want to have people engaged in there. And again, for us, it's all about, and this is what we're on this program for today, is, to educate and support our parents and coaches. So again, you've heard the stories of what we do to support our coaches, and you'll hear that again in future episodes about the supports that our associations give, that Hockey Alberta gives, that Hockey Edmonton gives for our coaches. But again, we're here to sit there and really educate some of our programs here to the parents, and understand the whys behind some of the things that we want to do, because sometimes it's not fun reading the science itself. Our organizations have done a great job in really developing the message, and I think in a few minutes here we're gonna see one of those examples here. So again, that's kind of the nutshell of our program and kind of the of how it is. And then we'll break into a video here in a little bit, and then we'll see the results, and we'll talk about the results of why we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, very well said there, Jeremy. This is the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. Thanks for tuning in. This fine. It's not really that fine out. It's okay out right now.
It's a nice day.
Yeah, You know what? Compared to how it was all week,
yes,
it was good.
Exactly.
I don't know. You know what it is for me? It's the darkness. It's very dark this week, but we did just pass. Well, I guess it's today. It's the longest or the shortest day of the year. Yeah. So that's good. So now we're looking. It'll be nice and bright pretty soon.
Days get longer from here.
Yes, which is I'm here for it, baby. Exactly. I'm here for it. Leave a like for that, boys and girls. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Hockey Edmonton Show, episode 16, right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. But Jeremy, we had mentioned the video earlier. We had teased the audience, and I think we're ready to play that said video. You're all good?
We are good. Yeah.
Let's give it a go.
Yeah, you're the expert.
Let's go.
I mean, it's daunting. It's huge.
That's the main thing. It's just size is just too big.
Oh no, it's too big. When I stepped onto this ice surface, I kind of was looking down and trying to figure out where it started and stopped.
It's the view of what ice was like when we were kids. You know, this is what it was like, and you forget that when you get older.
Looking out at this as a kid, it would be overwhelming. Just wondering, if you're going to get up and down the ice surface.
We thought this was for a completely different sport.
It almost looked like a joke. You see the giant nets and everything. There's no way we're playing full ice on this.
Am I going to play on this? Oh, jeez. No. That is a big net. I mean, the goalie's like, he's standing up and it's above his head. I'm like, it was crazy.
There's so much room on the ice that you end up spending a lot of time in open space, and you're not touching the puck.
And we realized how bunched up we were, spread out, and used the ice, but then you weren't part of the play. You were so far out of it.
And a lot of chasing and just not much contact.
If you're out of position once, you're not going to get back in it. You're done for the play. So, it's very unforgiving.
If you're caught out of position on this thing, oof.
With a big sheet of ice, there's a lot of one-on-one type play. So if you can beat one guy, the other team's so far away they can't even catch you.
If you're a defenseman and you're beat, you're just going to probably more or less tend to give up.
On the long passes, the passes are so long that they're easy to intercept.
It's hard to communicate because everybody's spread out so far, and you're out of breath, so that makes it hard too.
I need more water. A few more minutes to breathe. Would have scared me if it was my first time, because I can't do that every day.
Thanks, guys, for the worst skate of my life.
I'm exhausted, and even just once up and down the ice, I came out here and had to lay down in the track because it was just wearing me out.
If I was just a little guy, I want to play in as small of ice as possible.
There's too much time between the action.
I think for kids with their attention spans, it makes it even more difficult because they lose interest if they're not involved in the play.
Anybody that would experience it for the first time would not be able to pick up the style of play, how to be in position. It would be way too difficult. There's way too much area to cover.
It's a little less thrilling, a little less exciting. Just the way you play out here, it's nothing like that you'd play in real life.
The surface is way too big to learn on.
There you go. Look at that.
I mean,
so many things to dissect there, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so for those that are listening, you heard the commentary from the parents and such that were voluntold to come out there and do the video and such. And this is a USA Hockey video. Again, they talked about the size of the rink. They built this with the proportions of what a kid at this high. If it was an adult, that's what they built the proportions for. And you folks, like those that are in the arenas, you can go out there and see that this isn't really an exaggeration in terms of, you see the kid taking up a quarter of the net. You'll see the kids skating all the way down the ice. Yeah. Again, this is a accurate depiction, quite honestly, of what it's like for a kid out there as seeing it from an adult size. So again, I think at the end of the day, you hear what they talked about there. And so, again, some of the challenges, and we'll talk about this right away here, of why half ice helps. And I'll credit my colleagues down in Hockey Calgary for this. They did a good job in building a nice infographic in their program rollout and such. But again, most importantly, touching the puck. Twice as many touches the kids get playing half ice hockey. Players are close to the play all the time, and therefore that's how that opportunity comes about. Shot attempts, 6 times more shot attempts. Players are closer again to the puck, and more shots find their way to the net. Again, you heard in one of those statements is exactly how far everything is.
Yeah.
Again, so you're getting shots on net because naturally you're bringing the kids closer to that net. Shots on net, 3 times as many shots on net. So players are closer to the nets. They have to skate less, and there's more offensive opportunities. Again, those that see it in our programs, you'll see that yes, there are a lot of shot attempts. Anybody that isn't familiar with hockey, and you've been to an Oiler game at any time over the last probably 50 years, or since the Oilers' inception, they've always brought kids out on the ice, and everybody enjoys watching them in the intermission.
Yeah.
You see how that offense and how engaged and how many kids are actually participating in it. Again, that's cross ice hockey right there. Pass attempts, twice as many, again, because the players are closer to the puck to pressure their more, and their teammates are closer to support. So again, you're easier to make those passes. And again, like you talked about, the one guy said, you got a good skater, he just skates by everybody. Well, then where's that opportunity to pass the puck? Whereas here, okay, people are pressuring you to move that puck quicker. And again, because you have players that are closer, easier for you to make those passes. Passes received, 5 times as many. Passes are shorter, accuracy is improved, and there's a greater understanding of puck possession. So you're not just randomly firing the puck down the ice. You see that a lot in sometimes these full ice situations. Again, passes are shorter, 10 to 15 to 20 feet at the most.
Yeah.
Again, you just increase that accuracy, and you get them that confidence to make passes. And then as they get that confidence, then they're going to try longer and longer passes. And again, accuracy is improved because, again, you're really closer together there. And then finally, ice time. 2.5 more times on the ice because, again, in our gameplay system, there are fewer players on the ice, 4-on-4 plus the goalies. Less stoppages because we're continuous. And, equal shifts because, again, we buzzer through the shifts and such. And, when I talk about less stoppages, I want to hit on one thing that we commonly hear is, well, they don't know offsides. Really, kids honestly are not playing the game because offside is the exciting part they want to learn.
Yes.
And quite honestly, I've heard this before, and I think Steven mentioned it, but if he didn't, it's in a conversation me and him had. You know how kids learn the rules of the game? By playing EA Sports.
Yeah.
Offsides, they're going to learn that. Icings, they're going to learn that. And, I think we've had it even out here, some of those conversations.
So I learned.
Playing video games is how you learn some of these rules. Again, kids are smart enough to pick it up fairly quickly. They will pick up, some of those nuanced rules of icings and offsides. But why do we focus on wanting to stop the play and prevent them from playing the game and touching the puck because of offsides at such a young age, right? Like that's just something that, I don't get that.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's it's interesting what perspective can do as you continue to grow up, essentially, because I mean, everyone has a core memory, and for me, I went to school, elementary school, and I just remember the playground that we had. It was on this huge hill. It was the biggest hill I'd ever seen. It was crazy. And then I moved away, hadn't returned to that town in many years. I'm an adult. I go back to see. I'm like, and this was my first school I ever go to. I'm like, I want to see the playground. Let's see how big this hill is. It's like the tiniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Exactly. And I'm just like, that's not the hill. What changed here? There's something off about this, right? And so that's exactly what this video demonstrated. Attention spans. You talk about that. That was brought up. They're tired. Way too big to learn on. Look at all the space. Not realistic. And that's the thing. You want to make it as realistic as possible because none of those situations or like it's not going to transfer into a real life scenario as in hockey, right? So a lot to talk about there. And as we got about 10 minutes here on the Hockey Edmonton Show. Jeremy, why half ice helps?
Yeah, and I think, like you said, you transition that into there nicely. And again, taking a quote from Dr. Steve Norris, he is a person if you're familiar in the industry, again, a really proponent of proper athlete development. And what he mentioned, again, research shows when children are more actively engaged, they touch the puck more often, have the puck on their stick longer, and are interacting with one and another to a greater extent. That's what small ice and shrinking the ice surface to appropriate age levels does. So again, this is, you don't have to, if you don't believe in all the research and such, you just look at the black and the white there. Again, you're going to see more touches, and it makes sense. Like more touches, more actively engaged, stay in the game longer. That's what we want to go, or that's what we want to see in our programs here. And again, stealing from something from the Ontario Minor Hockey Association, this is a very good provincial branch here. I give a shout out to them. I don't think nobody from them would be listening, but during my time at Hockey Alberta, we utilized a lot of their resources. They've done a really good job. But for them, what their message is teaching the basic skills of hockey so players can enjoy the game. Assist in the development and enhancement of physical literacy and basic motor patterns. Develop the concepts of being a team member through participation. Encourage fitness, fair play, and cooperation while playing the game. And design practices and gameplay that is appropriate for their age, size, and skill level of the participant. That's why, half ice is important to them, and why we encourage that and echo those types of statements again. So again, like I said, what our goals are, and again, we know this is backed by, the research and such. Being age appropriate, get them involved early on, get them active and engaged in the game itself, making sure that we are capturing their attention so they feel confident and comfortable in the game. They're going to play the game longer. They're going to enjoy the game more. They're going to develop appropriately. And again, we're going to keep people active for life, and that's our goal here in hockey. Yes, we want to have, for those that choose our elite programming, we want to to achieve the highest levels as possible. Again, these foundational skills get you there. Learning them in an appropriate manner, an appropriate time frame, will get you there. Those that want to play in our community programs, that want to play the game in that manner, again, the foundational skills will be there that are necessary throughout your hockey journey. We want to teach them at the appropriate levels. And again, when we talk about these types of foundational skills, those that want to play late, join late, we have options for you to come in and learn these foundational skills as well. So again, don't be deterred if you're a late person to wanting to play the game. We will get you those foundational skills. But in this conversation, again, our structure kind of aligns that up here, and this is why we believe in it, why we do it, why we teach it to our parents, to our leaders, to our coaches.
Well said. This is the final few minutes right here on the Hockey Edmonton Show. To wrap things up, I believe we teased it at the beginning of the episode, but Hockey Edmonton's Timbit Fall Festival. I don't know much on it, but I know someone who does, and I'm looking right at him. Jeremy.
Well, yes, you do know somebody that does. I do not know as much as our good staff and volunteers that help run it. Joel, who you have met, he knows a lot about that.
He's
Kylie, she will be in here in a few weeks, I believe, as the goal to have her in here for our Minor Hockey Week conversation. And for those in the sport, in the hockey world, Ray, who does a very good job as well in this program and building this program. But it's exactly what it is, Timbits Fall Festival, our U7 program. So it's a wrap up for the first half of the season for our players. So I know people are looking perhaps outside, whether you're at the arena or at an arena or at driving around. You're like, why are you saying this is fall when we have a foot of snow on the ground? It's a wrap up for our first half of the season, the fall portion of our programming. It really is to watch one of the purest forms of the game. Players, kids just playing it. And again, everything that we talked about earlier on, go watch it. You will see exactly what we're talking about here. Kids having fun, kids being engaged. and kids just participating as a whole. It's a great time here. It is running today, so Saturday, till 6 p.m., 5:45, I think is when the last game ends, at Terwilliger Arena. Head on out there. Go to any one of those ice surfaces. We'll have our Timbits programs or our fall festival out there. There are some things out there like face painting and balloon animals or jugglers or something like that as well. So we do make this a really good event for families and such. So again, if you are new to the game and want to see it, you're not familiar with it, you're around Terwilliger Arena out there. There's a lot of things to do there at the rec center and such. Walk down to see the arenas. Go see some of the highlights of our half ice program and our Timbits program. And again, see the enjoyment that these kids have for the game. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, go out there and show your support. And again, those that are around the area and want to see something magical, go watch that. Without our volunteers, I do want to give out a shout out. Again, it takes an army to do things, just like Dana said a few weeks ago. It takes an army to get things done in our industry and such. We have tons of volunteers that help out to make this event a success, and that is our Minor Hockey Association volunteers. Again, thank you to all of our community programs who provide volunteers to help make this event go off without a hitch. And, obviously the big one, thank you to Tim Hortons, our event sponsor, the local franchisees who are out there to support us, the corporate side who's supporting this program throughout the country. They support the Timbits program as a whole. Again, they believe in the program itself and getting people in the game. Obviously, the namesake of the organization is Tim Horton, a hockey player. So, his story of setting up his own restaurant, and it just has become this massive brand. And again, they're great partners to be with in the game, to give back to the game. We definitely appreciate the work that they do, and as well as the franchisees that help come out and really want to be part of the community. And as we continue this partnership with them, we look forward to getting them into our community programming and being visible in our communities a little bit more. So again, that's the Fall Festival there. Again, like I said, it is a good thing today going on. A very exciting day to be there. And again, if you're listening to this on the way to the arena or at the arena.
Awesome. Well said there, Jeremy. As we enter the last part of our show, it's the wrap up. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Haluschak. And if you guys are watching, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, drop a comment down below, and we really appreciate it. Lots more hockey conversation going on in just a bit here as Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell will be taking over for Hello Hockey. But Jeremy, take it away for the last little bit here.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, we lead into a good day of hockey and such. But yeah, overall, again, why our program and why we're passionate about our program, be it at the Hockey Canada, Hockey Alberta, Hockey Edmonton, and our minor hockey associations levels, is this program is structured to encourage fun, confidence, athlete development, and long-term enjoyment of the game. Again, like you've heard me say, and again, it should come without saying, more touches, more time with the puck, more time on the ice, and more engagement equals that more enjoyment of the game. And if you enjoy the game, like we talked about early on, and even in some of our other episodes, we talked about you'll tell if people don't enjoy the game. This is what creates that enjoyment, is again being an active participant in it. Again, as we've said, nearly every sport implements this LTAD program somewhere into their structure. Basketball, you're not playing on whatever the standard NBA heights are.
Yep.
Soccer, you are not playing on the standard pitch. You see the small nets and the small...
Really good point.
The small fields. Baseball, you're not running the full 90 feet. You are not having individual pitchers, for example. Players learning to pitch. You are getting, somebody to pitch consistently to you so you can learn those fundamental skills. So again, every sport is doing this. Lacrosse, we talked with Will about that on outside there, that, they're playing at small areas as well as fewer participants. I think he mentioned at some point 3-on-3 and such, right? At the younger age groups. So again, every sport is doing this, so again, we all believe in this program here. And the concepts, again, the Hockey Canada, even to the extent the Hockey Canada model itself has been adopted by nearly all ice hockey federations. Again, you look at what, especially some of those European federations have done. They've taken that Hockey Canada coaches model. So again, those that coaches are that have been in the system for a long time, remember the binders that we would used to get in coaching clinics, and then you could buy additional ones, or you get them, as you go through your coaching clinic. So I have a full collection of them at home still because I'm an old school guy.
Nice.
But those things have been adopted by nearly every other ice hockey federation. And again, federations talk and work together. USA Hockey and Hockey Canada work together and have regular conversations and pick each other's brains out. And I know that from my Hockey Alberta experience. I know the development guy, we would have chats about what's kind of, what they're seeing and that type of thing. So again, this is a concept that a lot of other federations have adopted. So again, it's a proven concept, and this is why we believe in our structure. Again, the background thoughts, again, more touches, more engagement, that comes naturally. Again, the science behind it, as well as, again, going back to that common sense approach that a lot of other sports are doing it. This is why we're also doing it, because it's the right thing, because we believe in that framework.
Wow. I couldn't have said it any better, Jeremy. You absolutely crushed it, as always. Absolutely brought it. That was a great episode. That pretty well concludes today's episode. We shed some light on the Timbits program there, and that's half ice hockey, baby. It was a good conversation. Start them at a young age and just make the game better and more fun and keep them more engaged. We touched on all of that, and it was a very fun, very good episode, as always, right here on the Hockey Edmonton Show, episode 16. That was good, Jeremy.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
For sure. It's funny. Like I said, you look at some of the great plays you see in the pros. Again, being able to
Where's
play.
that stem from?
Exactly. Being able to play in small areas.
Yep.
That's the bottom line. We all love the things that Connor McDavid does walking out of the corner. Sidney Crosby, Patrick Kane, Matt Barzell. There's a lot of those highlight goals that you've seen. Kel McCarr, a lot of great players. You see them working well in small areas and doing these amazing things. This is how we encourage that, by shrinking the surface at a very young age and really helping them get that confidence throughout. So again, like I said, that's why we love it, why we believe in it. And again, like I said, the results we believe are there. So
yeah, the results are definitely there. That concludes this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really, really appreciate it. Drop a comment down below as we read every single one. And leave a like, just because I said so. And so does Jeremy.
That.
Right on, guys. Well, that concludes that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Merry Christmas to you and yours. And we'll see you next week. Jeremy, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. And yeah, we're excited for next week's episode.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys. Take her easy.